We're gonna swim, bike, and run in the Kona sun. We're gonna swim, bike, and run in the Kona sun 2021.
Thank you, Poncho Man. Welcome to Breakfast with Bob, not quite Kona edition. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are brought to you by Challenge North America, Credo Tri, UCAN, Hoka One One, Velo Fix, Norma Tech, Canyon Bikes, our Challenge Athletes Foundation. We just sent out 3,038 grants totaling $5.1 million to keep challenged athletes in the game of life through sport. Our next guest just won Ironman 70.3 Galveston. Skye Moench joins us. Skye, the champion, how you doing?
Hi, Bob. Oh, I'm doing good. Just finished up my training, already gearing up for another race, which is, triathlete's dream to have races on the schedule. So we're doing good.
Well, especially when you look at St. George, in 2016, you were 10th, 17, 9th, 2019, 4th.
Yeah.
So obviously you like the course. Talk
I do.
about that course itself and how it suits you.
Well, honestly, for starters, it's a 3.5, 4-hour drive from my house. So that I just inherently like the course because it's so easy to get to.
Yeah.
But, also being in Utah, there's a lot of good climbing on the course. It can really present a lot of challenges, even just weather-wise. So I think I really thrive on tough courses. And the run is, frankly, I think the hardest 70.3 run on the circuit. So just so much uphill, which is just brutal. But I thrive in those tough conditions. And, I'm here in Salt Lake City, Utah. So a lot of, people, triathletes from around here get down to St. George. And I just feel a lot of love and support on the course. So it's so fun for me personally to go be part of what feels like a local community to me.
It's so funny, a couple of months ago when we were so locked down in this country, like looking at Australia and looking at other countries, oh my God, they got all the racing. Yeah. Everybody's coming here. All of a sudden, we got race challenge, Miami, Daytona, Galveston, Miami, Florida. Yeah. It's so cool.
It's totally unexpected. But I'm really grateful. I mean, even with Texas, I had everything ready in case I needed to cancel because I just wasn't sure if things were actually going to happen. Right. I had my name on the list for Florida a week later in case Texas got canceled. And, it seems like we're figuring out a way to get races going. And, all the Europeans are coming over to race. So it's good. I mean, it's drawing a lot of good attention to the races. Great fields coming. It's awesome.
Well, and that's probably the one difference between when I look at the St. George field for next week, it looks like the World Championships, right? You got Daniela Reef coming, and it's Holly Lawrence, yourself. It's pretty crazy, but I bet you like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better way to really test or push yourself than racing the best. So the fact that I just get to hop in my car and drive a little ways to go do that, I'm feeling really spoiled and grateful that I can be a part of it so easily.
So when I look at the race at Galveston, you go 4:10:01 and Jeannie Metzler is 4:11:18. So she's like just a little over a minute behind you. Was it a tough battle all day?
Honestly, no. She made up so much ground on the run. I made up my ground on the bike. I had a pretty bad swim for me. And so I knew I had to put the work in on the bike if I wanted any chance of winning. So, I think I put in one. Kimberly Morrison was there, who's an incredible biker. She put down the fastest, and I think I had the next fastest bike. So, I put a lot of time into the field on the bike. And then Jeannie, I didn't even know how fast she was moving on the run until partway through the last lap. It was a 3-lap run.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she was there. And I'm like, all right, last lap, I can hold on to this. I mean, it's a minute is close, but it's quite a ways to make up, in a few miles. Yeah. So, she put down an incredible run. I'm kind of glad I didn't know how fast she was moving because that may have stressed me out a little more. I mean, I certainly was running as hard as I could, but
I think it was one of the fastest 70.3 runs ever.
It probably was. I mean, very, very impressive. I mean, usually it's funny. I was telling a teammate, I'm like, usually I'd feel pretty good about running 120 and change whenever I ran. That's a pretty good run. but there's a new standard. Like the run times are just getting faster and faster. And yeah, I mean, we all have to rise if we want to stay competitive.
So you got what, sixth at Daytona, and then you come back with fifth at Miami. And those races really they probably don't suit you as well as something like Galveston or something like a St. George, because, well, one, Miami's too short, right, in terms of the bike ride. And both of them there's no climbing. It's just staying in the saddle. So talk a little about just the fact that you've been able to be so competitive over all different distances, different styles of racing. Yeah. It says a lot about your fitness and preparation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I talked a lot about this and thought about it after Miami with Jan Frodeno coming in and dominating. And, you know, the reality is if you're good, right? Like if you are a good athlete, you're going to be good and competitive no matter what the course is. You know, you adapt, you kind of have to, not that you mold yourself, but you kind of just mold yourself to whatever course you're preparing for, right? Like mentally, physically, even tactically. So I just really feel that, yeah, if you want to be a world-class athlete, you have to be able to perform across whatever course or whatever conditions, you know, are given to you. And that doesn't mean necessarily like, yeah, I got fifth in Challenge Miami. That was pretty good. I didn't win. And then I was able to win at Texas. So certainly, you know, there's some difference there, but it's not like I got completely demolished at Miami, you know? That's
right. No, you were there. You're competitive.
Yeah. Yeah, I was competitive. So that's just kind of how I feel. I strive to be the kind of athlete that can adapt and can perform whatever course I hit. So.
Well, it was fascinating you say that, because I was talking to a number of athletes. You know, the first day they got to Miami, it's wind, you know, it's middle of the day, the wind is howling.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a speedway, right? They had the road course. And people are like, oh my God, all these turns, it's going to be chaos. It's going to be a nightmare. And Jan comes in and he goes, this is awesome.
Yeah.
We can use our bike handling skills.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard. It's because the wind is going to make it tough. If you're at that level, you don't get intimidated by the course. You like, the tougher the conditions, the better I'll do.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, if the conditions are good, then you just get lucky and get to have a little bit of an easier day. But yeah, you just have to be ready to perform no matter what. And, you know, I live in a place where I climb a lot of mountains, and people will say to me, you're so good on flat courses too. Like Texas was pancake flat. And then, but again, I go back to like, if I can climb mountains, then you bet I can ride a flat course, you know, like it's just, strengths should translate for the most part.
So you know a little bit about sheltering in place because you had that horrific bike crash right before Kona and had all that time, multiple surgeries, you're laid up.
Yeah.
And then you obviously you'd qualified for Kona, and that was going to be your first Kona experience. And then the world shuts down and you have to shelter in place more. How'd you get through all this craziness?
You know, I stayed really optimistic, maybe too optimistic at the beginning. But, you know, then once reality really set in and it became clear we wouldn't be racing or traveling all year, I really just tried to focus on enjoying being home and doing things that I don't do a lot of when I'm training. So whether that's as simple as like mowing my lawn, like housework that is usually I'm too tired for, or, you know, baking more. And just spending time with my family or, you know, my husband, especially. And, you know, I usually travel a lot. I'll go to Australia and Europe in a typical year.
Right.
So it was kind of nice to be home and just enjoy the summer here in Salt Lake. So that's what I did. I just tried to stay happy, whatever I could do to do that. And then, obviously, not having like the double header of crash and then COVID, it was quite an extended waiting period for me to get back to feeling like an athlete. So that certainly had its moments, but I knew things would get better eventually. And I have full faith in, you know, my coach and my program that I would be ready to perform when things picked up. And I think we made the most of the couple races we got to do at the end of 2020. So
Yes, you did.
yeah.
So we've got St. George next week.
Yep.
And then later on, I think you're U.S. number 3 for U.S. Women for Collins Cup, right? Is that where you're standing right now?
That's what it looks like. Yeah. So I'm feeling pretty good about my chances being at the Collins Cup. So yeah, there's a lot that can happen by then. A lot of racing, hopefully not too much more COVID disruption, but yeah. I'm planning to do Ironman Tulsa at the end of May. So that's like that's what's on my radar. Right. And then, yeah, it'll shift to kind of the championship big races. I'm Collins Cup. I'll go to 70.3 Worlds in St. George. How could I not? It's right here.
Then Kona.
And then Kona. So yeah, a big block there of racing, which should be really fun.
Well, you know what's fun is all of a sudden you look at a schedule and you go, I think some of these might happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so you can look at 5 races and go, St. George, Tulsa, Summerin, and 70.3 Worlds, Kona.
Yeah.
Boom. That's the season.
Yeah, no, I feel very optimistic about it. So yeah, it's so much easier mentally to just grind through all this training when you feel like there's going to be races. It's wonderful.
Light it down. Do you ever look back? I mean, here you are, you're CPA, you could be, you could have been doing accounting all these years. Do you ever look back on it and go, did I make the right choice or not make the right choice?
No, I definitely think I made the right choice. The thing about accounting is that it'll always be there. Like I can always go back and get an accounting job. I mean, I'm still on LinkedIn. I'll still get recruiting messages. So I just know like the job availability is totally there. So I have no regrets, and I'm so glad that I did what I did and, kind of took the chance on myself. It's been a lot harder than I ever expected. I definitely had no idea what I was getting into, for sure. I mean, I've had my moments where I think like, oh, should I just go back to work, or this is really hard. Like, do I still want to do this? But no, like the journey is incredible. And I think one of the things I'm most grateful for and what I'm most appreciative with triathlon is it's completely expanded my entire world. Like the people, I mean, I'm sitting here talking with you. Like I have this global network now, and I've traveled to all these places that I never would have but for triathlon. So it's really amazing.
What I enjoy every time we chat is, you were working since you were 15 years old. You funded your way through college, 2 part-time jobs, cleaning houses.
Yeah.
You are the American dream. Somebody who basically worked her ass off.
Yes.
To where she's at. And oh, by the way, I can fall back on my CPA.
Yeah.
It's sort of like Yale is my safety school. I can fall back. I got a CPA. I can fall back on that.
Yeah, I've got all kind of safety nets. Calculated risks is what I take. But yeah, and I think that's part of what's so fun for me doing triathlon is I spent my teenage years and a lot of my 20s working really, really hard. And it was very rewarding for me, obviously, getting a degree, getting a master's degree, getting a good job. Like that was all very, very rewarding. But it was kind of like the safe path to take, right? Like that's a really safe, really commendable path to take. But, triathlon is something that I really wanted to do for myself, and certainly a lot riskier than sitting at a desk doing accounting. But yeah, I'm pumped with the journey and like where it's taken me. So we'll see what lies ahead. It's exciting.
When you look back, what do you look back as the race that meant the most to you? Is there one race that you look at that one, it told you I could be good at this, or 2, this is the best race I've ever had?
I think the race that I look back on that gave me a lot of validation in a way that kind of said, yeah, I think I can be good at it, is in 2018, I raced in Switzerland, and I shared a podium, my first pro podium. And I shared it with Daniela Reef, which obviously Daniela won the race and I got 3rd. But, getting on a podium, racing with some of the best in the world at that race, like that was just kind of the confidence I needed to say like, hey, yeah, I'm now heading in the right direction. And then, you know, that summer, I raced Ironman Frankfurt for the first time. And then I 3 weeks later raced Ironman Switzerland in Zurich. And I got second at Ironman Switzerland in Zurich. So that was just another, I think just that whole summer, that was my first summer being part of Cameron Watt's squad. And that was my first summer going to Europe. And it just really, I think it just really solidified that I could be as good as I thought I could be if I was willing to work hard, because certainly I've improved a lot even since then. So yeah.
Well, and we know you know how to work hard.
Yeah, I know it's a lot of hard work.
Hey, Skye, good luck next week at St. George. I'm sure you're going to kill it.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to get there. So
Skye Moench has been our guest, Ironman Galveston champion.
Woo!
Yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, Bob.